Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Lazy Hypnotherapist. I, as always, am your host, Lily. I am a certified hypnotherapist and a trainer of conversational hypnosis, where I teach my students how to use conversational hypnosis to up-level their existing practice, whether they are a hypnotherapist wanting to ditch the scripts or an allied health professional that is wanting to add something to their toolkit to be able to help their clients shift old patterns and really get to the core of what's going on to be able to move forward. So in this podcast, I talk all about that, how we do that, what conversational hypnosis involves, and a little PSA at the front of the episode. I have a live training coming up. It is this Friday and Saturday. So it's the 17th and 18th of April, and it's a Friday night and a Saturday morning. I hold these live trainings every 12 weeks, and they are for anyone that signs up, old students that want to come along and practice. The live training isn't a requirement, it's just kind of like a bonus. So you can start learning straight away when you sign up through all of the online recorded content in the platform. But if you're wanting to practice, meet other therapists, then come along to the live training, because we do a lot of practicing and it's just a really great way to learn on the spot. So if you are keen, sign up via the description below, and I can't wait to see you there. But let's get into today's episode, and it is what actually makes a great hypnotherapist. Because I think when people start learning hypnosis, they often assume that becoming good at it means like learning more scripts. How many scripts can I learn? How many techniques can I learn? How many inductions can I memorize? How deep can I get my clients? How well can I memorize this structure? And those things, they can be useful depending on the type of hypnotherapy that you do practice, but they are not what I believe creates those really incredible results for your clients, those life-changing results that they'll be speaking about forever with other people. And I think some of the best hypnotherapists that I know actually really use very little in the way of these formal techniques. Like, they're not doing structured sessions. They're not going from one structured technique to the next. They're not technically perfect, but they actually follow what the client is giving them and the way in which the client is presenting their issue and presenting their subconscious to them. So, some of the least effective sessions, I think, are when a hypnotherapist is trying to be technically perfect, do the technically best induction, trying to do the technically best memory regression and whatever it is, the techniques that you've been taught, and whilst technically maybe they were perfect, the induction was great, the script was polished and perfect, everything sounds like it's meant to, but the client didn't change. And I definitely had sessions like that when I was practicing that more traditional style of hypnosis, where I thought I'd done everything perfect, thought it was the most perfect session, but then the client didn't get the results that they wanted. Very inconsistent results, which is something that we speak about a lot here. So I want to talk about, a few things that, in my opinion, actually make someone a great hypnotherapist, which really just means someone that gets their clients the results that the clients want. Because at the end of the day, we are just results driven. That is all we want, and any good hypnotherapist should be as well. So I think the first thing is listening. Like, that is the first skill that you need to master as a hypnotherapist. And it's interesting because in hypnotherapy, I guess particularly in the more traditional forms of it, it's a lot about talking. How are you getting them into a trance? How are you deepening them? How are you utilizing this technique? What, specific language are you using? It's a lot about talking, but there's a whole lot less about listening. Not just waiting for your turn to speak, but actually listening to how the client describes their internal world. Because when someone tells you their problem, they're also revealing like so much about the internal structure of the problem, how their internal, subconscious, actually, what that world actually looks like. They're revealing so much. They're telling you how their mind is organized and how their problem is organized, what it is being held up upon. They tell you the beliefs involved, the meanings they've attached, the patterns that they've repeated, and if you're listening carefully enough, they tell you exactly how the change needs to happen as well. They tell you everything about it. So great hypnotherapists are incredibly good observers of language. Language, that means listening to the language they use, but also body language. Listening to their body, watching, observing the people in front of you. Noticing the words that they use, noticing the assumptions hidden in sentences. Notice when someone describes themselves in a fixed way, like I've always been like this, or I just can't control that. Noticing the metaphors that they use, because they're not just phrases, they are descriptions and instructions of what the subconscious mind is doing. And I just think that is like, the listening part is so, so important. It's what I teach all of my students, how to listen, how to spot these subconscious moments, and to be listening way more than you're talking. The second thing that I think really makes someone great at hypnotherapy is flexibility. A lot of traditional hypnosis training teaches, a very structured approach. You do the induction, then you do the deepener, then you do the techniques, then the script, then the suggestions. And again, that can work, and it absolutely can, but it's kind of just like throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. It will stick to some people, but it won't stick to everyone, which is those inconsistent results. But I think the reason that we need to be flexible is that real conversations aren't structured like that. Real conversations aren't, we do this and then we do this and then we do this and then we do this. If you are too focused on following a script, you miss the most important moments in a session that are actually going to get you those results. So that's how conversational hypnosis works so differently, is that it allows the session to evolve naturally based on what the client brings into the room. So it's not based on the structure that I have in mind before the client steps in the room. It's not based on knowing, oh, okay, they've told me previously that they want to work on anxiety. Where's my anxiety script? It's not on anything that is pre-learnt or pre-thought about or pre-structured or written. It's what they bring. So instead of forcing a technique onto the problem, you respond to what is actually happening in real time. And you cannot prepare for that. You can't go into a session thinking or assuming in any way, shape, or form that you know what is going to happen in that session, or you know the cause of the client's problem, or you know what technique is going to help them. because you just can't. You can't know. So the flexibility is often what allows that deeper change to happen. It's, I suppose, like the clients will come in and they'll be talking and they'll change the topic. They'll sort of go on a really conscious flow of conversation where you're trying to like think, oh my gosh, how do I fit my technique in here? Whereas conversational hypnosis teaches you to just roll with the punches. It teaches you how to respond to what they're giving you, because otherwise you can get into this sort of state where it's like, oh my gosh, this is not going how I planned. I don't know where to put my technique. I don't know when to do this memory regression. I don't know when to do the script because they've kind of just brought all this stuff that I wasn't expecting. And conversational hypnosis takes all of this away, because it's like, hey, we respond to what they give us. Stress less, slow things down. Don't worry about it. You know exactly where to go because they're giving you it. It just takes so much of the stress away. I can't even tell you how much less draining sessions are with conversational hypnosis. Like, so much less. So much less. So flexibility is a really important skill that you learn, because you can be flexible to what they give you. I've had clients where on a discovery call, they tell me, hey, I want to work on anxiety or whatever it is. And then they come into the session and I ask, okay, so, what are we working on? And they'll give me something completely different. And if I had prepared for that session, I would be so thrown for a loop, because all of my preparation for this anxiety is now something completely different. So being able to be flexible is so important. And the third thing that I think really makes someone a great hypnotherapist is understanding how the subconscious mind actually works. I think a lot of hypnotherapists, they learn the techniques, they learn the structure, they learn that, but they don't necessarily really fully understand how the subconscious works, because I think if they did, they wouldn't be using these structured techniques, because they would know that the subconscious does not respond to force. It doesn't change because someone's telling it to. It doesn't change because someone's telling that it needs to change. It changes when something about the experience shifts. It changes when they begin to understand things in a different way. When new meaning becomes possible, when new perspective feels believable, feels real, when that protective pattern no longer feels necessary. So rather than trying to overpower the subconscious through, suggestions, metaphors that you've created, structure and all of this, great hypnotherapists work with the client's subconscious. They guide the person. And when that shift happens, the behavior often just sort of naturally changes. And I think that is just like so important to understand how the subconscious works, because then you're knowing how to work with the client in front of you rather than against them, and you're teaching them to do that too. It feels so much less forced, so much more natural, just like so easy and effortless. And that is the best thing about conversational hypnosis, is that it is like nothing is forced. Nothing is forced. What needs to come up will. Hypnotherapists are taught, things like memory regression, right? And you force it. It's like, okay, go back to this traumatic memory and let's deal with it. Whereas in conversational hypnosis, memories will come up naturally, but the client will bring them to you. It will just pop into their mind. It will naturally come up, and therefore it needs to be dealt with. Whereas, we're not forcing anything. We're not purposely taking them back to a traumatic memory that doesn't need to be gone back to. We allow what needs to come up. And that is through understanding how that subconscious works. So finally, this, surprisingly, the thing that I actually think is really important is comfort with uncertainty. As a hypnotherapist, if you rely, on the scripts, it can feel like you always need to know exactly what you need to say next. And you start to get very, panicky if it's not going as you need it to go. But, you know, what I've found at least is like some of the most powerful moments in hypnosis happen when you allow the conversation to just simply unfold. You're not certain where it's going to go. You're not certain that it's going to go anywhere useful. You know, I always teach my clients all roads lead to Rome. You will get there, but it might not be the way in which you think you will, but you'll get there. Just follow it. Follow the conversation. Follow the road. You'll get there. And when you follow the client's thinking, when you follow their subconscious moments, you're not in control. You're kind of just like going on the ride, and there's uncertainty and everything, but you're confident and calm with that. So it's really, really important to relax into sessions, to take away that pressure, that pressure of I need to get this client somewhere, I need to get them here, I need to get them there, and just relax into it a little bit and take your ego out of it. You know, it's, if you get a good result for someone, you are no better or no worse than anyone else, and that's when you can kind of take the pressure off, and that's when you start to get better results anyway. So if you are, you know, a hypnotherapist and you're like, yes, this is all really like speaking to me, I'm done with the scripts, I'm done with the forced nature of it all, I'm done with the inconsistent results, maybe it's time for you to learn conversational hypnosis with me. I would absolutely love it. And, you know, maybe you're also an allied health professional and you're finding that, you know, your clients have the insights, they're able to understand their problem, but they're just not able to shift it, and you just want to get to that next level. Maybe it's time for you to learn conversational hypnosis too. What do you think? If you are keen, you can sign up in the description below. If you have any questions, always you can just email me, hypnosisbylily@gmail.com, or Instagram, DM me. That's just hypnosisbylily. But yeah, I want to thank you for listening today, and I will be in your ears next week. Okay, bye.